Good afternoon to anyone listening to this message. My name is Joanna. I am the founder of the Master Builder Society, and today I'm going to be doing a quick briefing. We're going to talk about subrogation. This is the golden key. Subrogation is the golden key. Subrogation will get rid of a court case for as long as there is no true injured party. Subrogation will pay a bill, a mortgage. Subrogation will get rid of a traffic ticket. This is the art of passing the buck to the next person under the bankruptcy code. First of all, I want to apologize to anyone who's been following this page. It's taken me some time to get my information together to get this business really off the ground. I've had some partners who wanted to get a little ahead of themselves, and so I've decided to move on my own. I want to make sure that I'm running this professionally so that people are learning the information that they need to learn and have the resources and the tools to know how to execute these processes so that you can get these people off your back and you do not make them mad by filing frivolous paperwork because you don't quite know what you're doing yet and get yourself into a lot of trouble. This is very serious business, people. Please, regardless of if you're learning from me or someone else, please double check and verify the information that you are receiving. Please do not get ahead of yourself. If you do not know what you are doing, you can get yourself into some serious trouble. Okay? Now, I just want to explain a few of the successes I've had. One of the biggest ones I've had was the subrogation of a weapons case, a weapons charge. It was a self-defense situation, perfectly constitutional, but the state wants to pretend that the Constitution does not exist. This was in the state of California, one of the most liberal states with the strictest weapons laws. Okay, I just want you guys to know this is possible even if you live in a blue state. It doesn't matter. Once you understand this master key, they have no authority over you. None whatsoever. It doesn't matter where you live. Okay? One of my other major successes lately was several traffic tickets, traveling privately, that I received. I was pulled over 3 times in the same week. It was stressful, y'all. So I was sent a ticket for $900. I was sent another one for $1,700. Okay? I 1099 both of those tickets. Okay? I have received no more tickets. They were sending me bills, literally 2-3 times a week, hounding me, trying to intimidate. That's what they do. Okay? So we're just going to have a quick little overview. I'm going to try. I'm pretty busy this week, but I'm going to try sometime, probably Friday. I'll put it to the end of the week so I can make sure I actually get it done. Where I'm going to sit down at the library and we're going to go over the paperwork of how you do this. But first I just want to explain basically what the process is, what subrogation means, what this is. And the biggest thing I want to explain to you is the difference between constitutional law and statutory public policy. Okay? Public policy is not law. I'm going to say that again. Public policy is not law. Okay? The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Period. I know they like to pretend it's not, okay, but it's only because you don't know how to enforce it. Once you know how to enforce it, and you do it a few times, they will leave you alone. Because there's nothing in it for them anymore. You know the game, the jig is up, they leave you alone. Okay? Public policy is not law. There can be no valid public policy that overrides the Constitution. If a public policy nullifies the Constitution, that public policy is nullified in itself. Okay? That's the second thing you need to understand. The third thing you need to understand is that involuntary servitude is a crime. Let me say that again. I don't care if it's the police or the court trying to put you into involuntary servitude. Involuntary servitude is a crime. Okay? Under both the federal and the state constitutions, involuntary servitude may be used only, folks, as punishment for a crime. Okay? So if they're not using it as punishment for a crime, then it is illegal. They may only force you into servitude as punishment for a crime. That is the supreme law of the land. Okay? And the last thing we need to understand is the difference between a crime and a civil or statutory infraction. A crime and a civil or statutory infraction are not the same thing. Okay? They may not force you into servitude for violating statutory policy. They may not force you into servitude for civil or statutory infractions. They may only force you into servitude as punishment for a crime. Now, what is the difference between a statutory infraction and a crime? Okay? Say you're chilling at home. Police come knock on the door. They say they have a warrant. There are two different types of warrants. There are two different types of law. Statutory law, constitutional law. Commercial law, constitutional law. Law of the sea, law of the land. Okay? Two different types of warrants. There are administrative warrants and there are judicial warrants. An administrative warrant is when the district attorney unlawfully assumes custody over your estate and he decides that he doesn't like your behavior and that you have violated public policy. And so as your custodian, now I shouldn't say unlawfully, he has the right to assume custody under the law. He has the right. You have to rebut it. Silence is acquiescence. He has the right to assume custody. Okay? For as long as you want to live in this country and use your social security card, your social security number, your birth certificate, you have to participate. You have to be an honorable creditor. If you do not wish to participate, you need to leave the United States. This idea that you've been taught that you can pull out is not real. Okay? Now, you can set up trusts and you can definitely do things to the side. But the reality is, if you're going to live in this country, you're going to need to use your state ID. You're going to need to use your driver's license every once in a while. You're going to need to use the social security number, and you're going to need to use your birth certificate. Because when you run into the revenue officers on the street, deal with the court system, look for employment, they're not going to accept any of your extracurricular documentation. Okay? So you have to learn how to manage the account. It is your job. You are the trustee. You have a duty to manage the account. You are not allowed to not manage it. Now, what we have to learn how to do is how to manage it as a creditor rather than a debtor. Okay? Now, where was I? Administrative warrants, judicial warrants. An administrative warrant is when the district attorney, as your custodian, he has the right to assume custody until you rebut custody. Okay? They have the right to custodianship over the estate of paupers. Okay? If you make less than a certain amount of money a year, you're considered a pauper. They have the right to assume the estate of minors and incompetents. The fact that you have not claimed any of your federal credits, you haven't claimed back any of your promissory note interest, okay? This is showing incompetency. You do not understand the bankruptcy system. That makes you an incompetent person, and they have the right to assume jurisdiction over you. Okay? So an administrative warrant is when you have violated public policy. Not the law, public policy. Say you were driving without a license. That's an administrative charge. Statutory. Okay? Meaning there is no injured party. The state of California Incorporated, EIN number whatever. I have it, by the way. Shout out to Eon. Is not a person. and it cannot be an injured party, okay? I live in the state of California. The California State Code says that the sovereign power of the people, or the sovereign power of the state, is vested within the people of the state. Let me say this again. The sovereign power of the state is vested in the people of the state, and all writs shall issue in their name, okay? In this country, we have a form of government that is a dual government. You have a dual citizenship. You are a federal citizen and you are a state citizen. We have a dual government, meaning there are two different systems running this government. This government is what's known as a democratic republic, okay? It's not a constitutional republic. I know you hear that a lot. It's a democratic republic, okay? I want you to look up the word democratic. Look up what is a democratic form of government. A democratic form of government is one in which the power is vested in the people, the citizenry, okay? And the citizenry creates the decisions. A Republican form of government is one in which the power is vested in representatives who represent the citizens. This is where you get things like the Electoral College, okay? And they have the representatives. The Electoral College is a system where, okay, you vote for the representative, okay? The representative actually then goes and asserts a decision on your behalf. So there's an in-between, a go-between, just like the custodian or the attorney, okay? So in this country, we have both of those forms of government. In the public side, you're going to be dealing with the Republican form of government, the one in which there is a go-between, a representative, a custodian, an attorney, okay? But under the bankruptcy code and due process of law, and because of the fact that involuntary servitude is a crime, they have to give you the right to subrogation, the right to democratic assertion of your natural human rights. Okay? So it's a dual form of government, dual citizenship. Okay? So you always have the option to go behind closed doors with the IRS as a private person, a real man or woman on the land and the jurisdiction of the land. Okay? They cannot force you to be a debtor in their bankruptcy. They're broke. They're bankrupt. We credited them. Okay? If you do not want to stand as surety on a statutory or administrative performance contract because you drove without a license, you do not have to. Now, if you do not know this, they will make you do it anyway because they make money through the CRIS system locking people up. But if you know this, the second you say the words involuntary servitude, those are powerful words, y'all. Slavery is a big, big crime. Okay? So once you know how to do this process and you hit them with that phrase, involuntary, so they will back off so quick. So quick. This is the master key. Okay? So like I said, administrative charges or warrants, judicial charges or warrants. The only people who stand in a sovereign position, only the sovereign can lay charge. Okay? The California State Code says that the sovereign power of the state is vested in the people of the state. I would assume all the other codes say this too. Okay, I live in California. Check your code. And all writs shall issue in their name. So a judicial warrant is when they have a complaint from an injured party. Okay? You go outside, you're arguing with some guy, you hit him in the face. He calls the police. They come pick you up. They got a judicial warrant. One of the people with the power has complained against you. And now, the DA's office is not acting as administrator and assuming custody, okay? They have been granted custody. They have been nominated. They are acting as a trustee on behalf of the citizen who complained against you. That is a judicial warrant, okay? If you guys have been paying attention to the news lately, this is the stuff they're talking about with immigration, okay, and sanctuary cities, okay? The states do not have to honor administrative warrants. Oh, well, this person drove without a license. Okay, we don't have to honor that. This is what the sanctuary cities are doing. I'm not here to say if you agree with it or not. I'm just saying you've probably heard about that, and this is an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, now if they have a judicial warrant, meaning a citizen has complained against you, okay, so when the police come to arrest you, you have a right to demand to see the warrant. If they arrest you without showing you the warrant, they have violated your rights under the Constitution. And a lot of times, be prepared, they will. I have been told, oh, I don't have to show you the warrant. They will lie to you, okay, until you step on their neck and prove to them that you know your rights and you know what you're talking about and you know who to call if they do not honor your rights. They will walk over you. So be prepared for that, okay? Make sure you have cameras. Put cameras in your car, cameras in your house. If you run into the police out in the street somewhere, turn your phone on, record them. Put it on live, preferably, something they can't go back and delete later if they arrest you and take your phone. Okay? Put it on live, so it's automatically uploaded, and they can't get rid of it. Okay? Because until you prove to these people that you know your rights, they will run over you. This is a test. Okay? They're not supposed to arrest you until they show you the warrant. Okay? At that, you do not have to go with them unless they have a judicial warrant, okay? An administrative warrant means you violated public policy. Now, like I said, public policy is not law. They cannot actually arrest you because you drove without a license. That's not a crime. That's a statutory infraction, okay? So when they hit you with those kind of administrative charges, you have the right to subrogate those charges. You do not have to stand as surety for administrative charges. Involuntary servitude is a crime. Okay? Now, what you're looking for is a judicial warrant. Judicial warrant means they have a sworn complaint from the injured party, and it should be directly attached. Page number 2, Exhibit A, see attached. It should be stapled to the warrant. If they don't have a sworn complaint from another citizen stapled to the warrant, that warrant is invalid, and they do not have the constitutional authority to detain you or arrest you. And if they do, they have subjected you to involuntary servitude. And if you know what to do about that, you can get them in big, big trouble. Okay? So administrative versus judicial. Administrative versus judicial. All you have to do when you run into them is make your case and record it. Now, like I said, most of the time, they think you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, you know a few laws, a few codes. Do you know how to enforce it? Do you know what to do in the courtroom? Do you know who to call when I completely override your constitutional rights? These people have bonds. They have lots of insurance. They're not worried about it for real. They're not really going to lose their job. Even if something does happen, they'll transfer them to a different department and let them keep working. This type of stuff happens all the time. You guys know this. Okay? So they're not really scared to completely violate you because they have so much immunity and so many insurance policies that they can get away with it. The system is so crooked that they can and they will get away with it. Okay? But once you start hitting their insurance policies, and you start calling people like the executive director of the United States Trustee Program, or the United States Attorney General, or the Criminal Investigation Division of the IRS to report them for identity theft, for unlawfully assuming custody over you, the game starts to change, and they start to back off and leave you alone. Okay? So, you get a ticket in the mail. That's an offer. You flip it over, you endorse it, pay to the order of the court. Now, what you want to do is use a nominee. So, Get the name of the officer who ticketed you. You gave him the ticket. You signed it and you gave it back to him, didn't you? Guess what? He's the holder in due course of a financial instrument. He's the nominee. And we're going to get into this at the end of the week, talking about the nominee. It's something that I have to explain to you. I have to show you some laws so you understand. Okay, so when you do the 1099, you're going to put the officer's name on there who gave you the ticket. If you don't remember his name or he didn't write it down, because they will do funny stuff like that, they'll send you a judgment that's not signed by the court clerk, so you can't nominate the court clerk because you don't know their name. They will do funny stuff like that. Okay? If you don't know the name of the cop who ticketed you, look up the name of the district attorney. Nominate her. She always has the obligation. She is the attorney for the district. She always, or he, always, the district attorney in my county is a woman, so that's why I said that. They always have the obligation. Okay? So look up the district attorney. Put them down on there. Okay? If it's just for a ticket. Now, if you're dealing with like a court case, you can't communicate with the DA or with the judge while you're in the middle of a court case. That's called ex parte communication. You can't do that. What you can do is use a letter rogatory, which is a letter that you file directly into the court, and you can inform them that way. Or what I highly, highly, highly recommend, everybody teaches you, get rid of your attorney. No. The court doesn't like it when you try to represent yourself. Why? Because you don't know what you're doing. You absolutely don't. Listen, I'm teaching you private law. Public law is not goddamn important, because public policy is not law anyway. Who cares what that stupid... Let me be professional, y'all. I'm a little passionate. Who cares what the code says? It's not the law. It's just a bunch of gibberish they're talking about. I don't care. It's how they prefer that you behave. I don't care about your preferences. I care about the law. Okay? If you know private law, you really don't need to know public law. Now, if you'd like to go learn public law because you want to be an attorney or something, then go right ahead. But if you're just trying to keep these people off your back, you don't need to know public law because it's not irrelevant. It's not relevant. Private law is very, very simple. Don't hurt other people. Don't hurt their property. Isn't that simple? Public law is complicated. Why would you even want to mess with it? Okay? So, I lost track of where it was at. Anyway, public law, private law, right? So, all right, I was saying in a court case, you don't want to get rid of the attorney. What you want to do, okay, when you have a court case pending, the agency known as the General Services Administration, okay, court cases are performance contracts, okay? They're bonds. They're bidding on bonds, okay? There's a bond with your name on it, a performance contract, okay? A financial instrument is a contract that pertains to money. There are several types of financial instruments. You can say promissory note, you can say bond, you can say security. All means the same thing. A financial instrument, if you look up in Black's Law, the word instrument means contract. Okay? And financial, obviously, pertaining to money. So if there is a performance contract that says, I am going to either do, you know how those little statutory crimes like littering is like $200 or 6 months in jail, right? So what you're supposed to perform is the payment of $200. If you fail to perform to pay $200, then you must do 6 months in jail, okay? So even if the performance, if there's no option on the public side to pay any money, say it's a so-called criminal charge, okay? Even if the performance is doing jail time, there's money involved in that through Social Security, through the CRIS system, okay? So that is a financial instrument. So what's going on is there's the bond on the table, okay? It's been issued off of your estate by the district attorney who has assumed custody over your estate, okay? If the charge is statutory or administrative, meaning there is no real injured party, the government is just tripping, trying to make money, you didn't really do anything, you can use a process called subrogation. Subrogation essentially means to substitute one for another, okay? So what you're going to do not get rid of your attorney. They don't like it when you do that. Like I said, you don't know public law really well enough to represent yourself in court. You have no rights under public law, and it doesn't make sense to even want to stand in that position. Okay? And 3, a lot of times they'll try to call you mentally incompetent or whatever. They don't like it when you try to get rid of the attorney. And you don't need to. And it's much more powerful to appoint the attorney as the trustee over the bond. Tax it and give it to him. That is the most powerful thing. You don't want to get rid of the attorney. You want to use him. Okay? But before you appoint him and you make him a fiduciary or a nominee over the bond that's on the table, that is the charge or the case, the account number. Okay? He has a fiduciary duty to represent the state and the American Bar Association. Okay? We're also going to do a video sometime maybe next week about what a constitution is, what a constitutor is. Okay? If you look into all these non-profits, let's say the Freemason Society. The Freemason Society has its own constitution. To constitute means to stand as surety for another. And if you charge a fee for that service, you can turn that into a business. That's what the United States is. That's what the Freemason Society is. Most of these sororities, Delta Phi Zeta, look it up, Delta Phi Zeta Constitution. They have their own constitution. They're operating from a completely separate foreign jurisdiction. This is what's going on right under your nose, people. Okay? The American Bar Association has their own constitution. They're bro, it's a joke. You're held to this law, they're under this law. This is a joke. It's ridiculous, okay? But in their constitution, it says that they have a custodial obligation to the court, to the United States, to the American Bar Association. So it is true that their first duty is to the court and second to you. Now, when you tax the bonds to your public defender, which they are obligated to give you, checkmate, checkmate, you are obligated to give me a public defender. And once I tax those bonds, he is obligated to perform. Checkmate. Okay? So you're going to 1099 OID the bonds. You're going to make him a custodian. So you're basically appointing him as the trustee over this property, and you are substituting him in as the debtor. Now he's the debtor. So once you file that 1099, you've just passed the buck. Okay? Because what's happened is, like I said, the district attorney has determined that you violated public policy. Okay? For the violation of public policy, there is a fine. As the attorney over the district, he or she is the attorney over all of the accounts in their district. Therefore, he is responsible for tendering payment for the violation. Okay? So he goes up on your behalf as your custodian. Until you rebut this, he has the right to do this. Okay? And he writes up a bond and he says, John Henry Doe promises to pay. Either John Henry Doe is going to prove his innocence, or John Henry Doe is going to do 5 years in prison. And that is a bond. That is a financial instrument. And he tenders that to the court as payment for the violation, because he is the trustee. So if he doesn't tender payment, then he's in trouble. Okay? So once he tenders that to the court, what's happening is it's triggering what's called a state tax lien. Okay? Because you have just tendered a $15,000 bond to the court and nobody's paid taxes on it. And the lack of the tax money is the real reason why you're in the courtroom. It has nothing to do with whatever the hell they said you did. It's only because it hasn't been taxed. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're going to report that income. And you're going to tax it. And the person that you're going to appoint as the custodian is going to be your public defender. And guess what? Now there's a state tax lien on him. And what it also does is it transfers this custodial agreement into the private side. So you have freed him from the obligation of the bar. This is powerful stuff, y'all. They thought they were going to give me 25 years in prison for defending myself. I walked out in 45 days. 1 year unsupervised probation. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Public policy is not law. Till next time, folks. Have a good day, y'all.